Hello, hello everyone. Welcome to the Isha monthly meeting. Sorry for a little bit of delay. I ran into some hiccups. I hope all of you are doing well. I decided to have this monthly meeting from my home. Uh, Please ignore the background, maybe a little distracting. I wanted to give you a little update about the meeting hall progress as I try to do in every meeting. I'll probably do it at the end. Um so here we are again every month talking about the message that Master left for us, and I'm talking about specifically my Master Isho Puriji, whose beautiful picture you can see in the background. Uh, and masters like him have been giving this message of importance of being a human and the importance of that and relevance in the world that we live in. And they talked about it. Many masters have talked about it in their own life and passed on this message through generations. And different religions have been founded on that basis. Uh, there have been people who have experienced the truth themselves, and they wanted the humanity around them, or people who were seeking. They wanted them to have that knowledge and see for themselves, experience for themselves the the nature of their existence, nature of their self, the truth. According to these masters, the truth is same for everyone. Whoever is conscious, me and you who are watching this live cast and who have a lot of questions as to what this world is about. We experience this world around us, and many times we have a lot of questions as to who created this world, why we are in this misery, why there is so much ups and downs, why am I suffering? And these questions come to us truly when we are going through a rough period. People who are having a good time in their life, I doubt they have the seeking. They do not ask this question because you not, let's say if you have millions of dollars, if you have all kind of luxury in your life, would you ever question uh, the existence? Why would you actually question? There won't be any reason to ask any question because you are having a good time and you want to enjoy that good time. And so, but there are people who are going through a rough period in their time, maybe because of relationship issues, because of money issue, because of business, because of war. There's always ups and downs in some part of the world, and so there are people who are always suffering. And uh, my master's master, great master Huzur Maharaj Baba Sawan Singh Ji, in 1937, when he was talking to one of his disciples, he had mentioned that spirituality is going to shift to United States and West in a big way. And along with that, the assumption was that a lot of wealth that is in Western countries would diminish, and a lot of Eastern countries that were wealthy in inside in spiritual matters, they were now beginning to seek external wealth, comfort, things that you can achieve outside. And so that flip was predicted by great master, and our master Ishwarji was here to to see the show happening here, and he took part in the show. He was the ringmaster, and so I'm just repeating the messages that he left behind for many of us. He did his work for a very very long time, multiple decades while he was in the United States, and I became his disciple just recently uh, in 2014. And whatever I have learned, as a duty assigned to me as a sevadar, I'm just doing that, sharing my message. Uh, so the message has been eternal. It's been since we have known about the humanity. You can find periods when different masters were born. Maybe they were not called masters because they were born in different regions, and whatever the appropriate word of choice was at the time for somebody who has realized the truth within themselves. They passed on that message, and but after they left, multiple religions have been founded on the basis of those truth that somebody experienced, and many followers of those masters in time, they also found the truth, and a lot of books have been written about them, about their experiences. But for people who have not tasted that, it is important that we reflect on what those masters have said, what they had experienced. And because when Master Ishu Puriji was here, he also talked about how to find the truth, because he himself experienced the truth with the grace of his master, and he was here to show that path to many of us who were seekers here. And according to these masters, the life that we have been given, because of whatever reason, maybe our past life that we don't know about, maybe because of all the actions that we took in the past, and as a gift of that, as the law of karma acts on every action that you perform and decides the next series of life that we lead. And based on that, probably we were born in the circumstances because of which our seeking uh, started. And as a part of being born in this human body, one of the gifts that we receive is seeking. Uh, because we have this ability to be deliberative. We have a choice making ability as a part of this human being. Uh, in East, it is believed, and in some books, it is catalogued that the number of life forms that this created universe has, and out of 8.4 million life forms, uh, we are the only life forms that has a free choice ability to make our own choices, be deliberative about any decision that you want to make. If you want to go left or right, if you want to have tea or coffee, before making any decision, we think about it, whether it is correct or not for us, whether it is right or whether it is wrong. But if you look at animals, birds, insects, snakes, different creatures that we or nature, uh, you can look at the plants, you can look at marine lives, you can, for most part, you can deduce the conclusion that they are stationary and they have nowhere to go. We do not know what they experience, uh, but according to these masters, these scriptures, it is said that only us in this body that we experience the free will, or the experience of free will, that is exercise of this choice making ability, with which we can decide our fate, our course in this life that we have been given. So because of this power that we have been given, because of the choice making ability that we have, we can decide that the life that we are leading is very challenging to us, and we can ask questions as to who put us in this situation. Of course, we know we were born at some point in time, we were young, we have memory, but when as we progress in life, we find ourselves in difficult situations, or maybe it could start from the beginning itself, that you were born in some place, maybe you were born with some illness, or maybe something happened with your family, because of which life was uh, challenging. And when you see the contrast that there are other people who have everything in their life, they're leading a very good life, they have good relations with the family, you wonder, you begin to question, why is it that you are placed in a miserable situation? So that from there, you start looking closely at the differences in different people, what they have, how maybe society is treating you, how maybe the business is not going well, your social status, and you want to acquire everything that the world has to offer. And sometimes even when you have everything in your life, maybe psychologically you are going through some issues for which you can't find a solution. Let's say a kid has died, and mother father are very traumatized with the loss of their child. Then even though they may have all the material benefits, all the material things that the world has to offer, uh, there is no solace to them because they just lost their child. And one can start asking question: is there a God? uh, they look around, they talk to uh, people who look realized, who wear different clothes. You go to temples, churches, in order to find the answers. You start to question what life is. And masters in those cases, because they can understand where the seeking is, because they are in a sense one with the existence. They have seen the show that we call life themselves. They realize what situation we are in, and they can know. And they, because of their uh, maybe their master's command, or because of the love that is flowing from their heart, they come in the middle of us and try to tell us why we are experiencing what we are experiencing, and how we can uh, find why things are happening to us, why we are in this situation, what does life mean. And over they tell us that the world that we perceive, that exists around us, that is a created world. It is created because of the sense perception that we have. The perceptions, the what we feel is built into our body, is is communicating to us the world that exists outside. And they tell us that for finding the truth, for finding why we are in this situation, we have to find the truth, and the truth cannot be found outside in the created world. For that, we have to go inside. We have to uh, find the truth within ourselves. But we do not understand what does it mean. We can of course see the objects in this world outside, and we do not know how inside means. We only have awareness of the outside. Maybe we get some faint glimpses as we live life, that we sometimes see dreams, we sometimes hear about incidents where people near have near death experiences, and they talk about what they perceived. But more than that, sometimes we don't have a very concrete idea of what inside means. A lot of spiritual texts talk about uh, the reality or the God existing in a human body. They say human body is the temple of living God. The heaven resides within us. So Master Ishwaji, you can find a lot of this information in his lectures. He talked about how to go inside, how to turn the attention that is flowing out and giving the knowledge of this world. If you are curious, uh, sometimes you use different scientific instruments to see what the world has. Recently, I was watching uh, a scientific sort of documentary in which they talked about different uh, telescopes or different means of finding out where we are, that is where this planet Earth is within the whole universe. And only recently, in last 200 300 years, we at least in the West, established the fact that we are just part of this huge existence, huge physical universe that we see around us. And the belief that there was a belief at one point that everything, the heavens, stars, circle around us uh, and around this earth. But over time, with the discovery of different scientific instruments, it was established that no, we are not at the center of the universe. In fact, we are uh, kind of at the edge, or maybe somewhere in the middle in this Milky Way galaxy. And this is just one of the galaxies, and it is full of stars, full of different planets. And we cannot even fathom how big that universe is, the universe that we live in, where this Milky Way is just a tiny part of it. And in fact, the galaxy that is closest to us outside of this Milky Way, it is uh, supposedly so far that even for a light that is traveling at 300,000 kilometers per second, the fastest thing we can imagine. And according to some principles, that nothing can go past this speed of light. So even for the light to arrive from this other galaxy that is beyond, that is the closest to us, and that is beyond the galaxy that we live in, Milky Way, it takes almost 2.5 million years for that light to travel to us. And that is, we are talking about the closest galaxy, Andromeda galaxy, that we can see. And apparently there are 2 trillion galaxies. Forget about the stars. I'm just talking about the bigger entities uh, within which the stars and different planets exist. So, and that is only in the universe that we can perceive with the instruments that we have built. And there is yet vaster things that we cannot even comprehend. And even people with a who are scientists in nature, who want to understand how the reality is exists as it exists, uh, they are trying to build different kind of instrument, different, they're figuring out different laws to estimate how big the universe is, because the probes that we have, the probes that we can send into space, like the Voyager 1 that has gone the farthest, that is a man-made equipment that is collecting data as it is going to the outer reaches of, I guess, this Milky Way, and it has just traveled barely a fraction of what speed of light can travel. It's zero point 0.2 light years or so it has traveled since its launch, maybe around 50 years back. And it has collected a lot of data, and with a lot of scientific discoveries, we have been able to estimate how big the galaxies are, how big this whole universe, that we can sort of theorize with the laws that we have been able to establish. Sometimes we have to make use of principles that show how the light is being twisted because of gravitational forces, and due to making a lot of hypotheses as to how the light behaves, we have been able to establish how big this universe is. And so we have gone quite far ahead in understanding how big this universe is, the world that we experience. And of course, there is a lot of conjecture as well as to there are multiple universes that may be in existence that we cannot comprehend. Ishwarji talked about entanglement. Two particles which can be very far apart, but somehow entangled with each other. That if you make some change in one, immediately the other particle that is entangled experiences the same thing. So we are constantly trying to understand this world that we perceive around us, and all the perceptions, understanding of this world happens through the senses that we have built in. And we have been building telescopes to sort of grow our senses, to supplement what our senses can see. And so that's one on one end. On the other end, we are trying to go to even the smallest particle of the nature, atoms and electrons and so on, and trying to understand the nature of that and see how everything combined together makes this the world, the universe that we experience. And in going to subatomic particles, a lot of a lot of laws have been discovered, and Ishwarji talked about one of the laws in his discourse. I was really surprised the breadth of Ishwarji's knowledge, not only in the, of course, in spiritual matters, but in in the scientific matters as well. He talked about the entanglement of particles. He talked about how scientists are confused by what a particle of light is, a photon, uh, as Einstein coined this term, a photon of light, that exhibited dual nature. In sometimes it used to exhibit the nature of waves. So light has been established for a long time that it exhibited uh, uh, like a wave. The radio communication that happens, the light that we receive from sun, these are in form of waves. And but at some point, because scientists wanted to understand the nature of reality, they they the only means they could depend on was to divide things and do experiments to figure out what different particles are made of, electrons are made of, atoms are made of, and so that they could figure out the governing principle and piece together different forces that they experience in nature and how this physical universe operates, so that they could explain how galaxies are being formed, how different objects that you see, because we started with the concept of big bang, but we never knew what happened before the big bang happened. So we haven't been able to fully explain in scientific laws how the creation came into being. We have just said that a big bang happened at some point in time, around 14 years back, and everything came into existence after that. But we do not have an explanation for what happened before Big Bang. And so we lack the apparatus, or lack some fundamental principle. And so scientists basically want to dig deeper into what matter is made of, what atoms are made of, what light is made of, and try to come up with a theory, hypothesis, and with experimentation prove that these hypotheses are correct and make them into law and combine or unify a bunch of laws into explaining uh, explaining the world that we see around us. So, like the Newton's law of different laws that govern how the motion happens. How much force needs to be applied, how gravitation works, how electromagnetic waves travel. So the photons, at some point around 1950s, as they started looking into it, they realized that photons, uh, although it was supposed to be behaving like a wave, they also exhibited principles of being a particle. So that's why the term photon was conceived of, which acted like a small, you can say, a point that had weight, mass, and that can have charge and so on. And they found that this light that we see, can behave as a wave as well as a particle. And funny thing that they discovered, which still confuses scientists, they are still trying to come up with uh, a way to explain how a light can behave both as a wave and a particle. They conducted a series of experiment called a double slit experiment, uh, through which a light or a photon passes. Sometimes it acts as a wave. When you are not closely observing the light, and you can see some kind of interference it makes a pattern that gives you a conviction that it must be a form of wave. If you throw let's say a rock in a pond, you see the waves happen. If you see you can see the waves ripple through the pond or a lake. If you throw multiple rocks at the same time, you'll see that those waves that go out, they combine with each other, and sometimes they form a larger wave or crest, and so there'll be a peak and there'll be a trough. So when you're doing it with the light, it forms black and light regions. It's called interference pattern. And so they were able to see that. So that was a conclusive evidence for light being a wave. But when they paid little closer attention, what they did was they wanted to find out in double slit. Basically, light goes through both the slits, and when you because it's a photon of light, it's and if you want to see which slit it went through, the moment an observer is put in place, the behavior of the light changed at that time. Earlier, it was a wave. The moment observer is put in place, the light started acting like a particle. And so somehow injection of the observer in the middle, caused the whole experiment to derail. And or let's say, initially they thought there was something wrong with the observer itself. It was somehow interfering with the experiment itself. So, but they realized, they tried to turn on the observer after it had already passed the slits, and yet they found that, even after the light had passed through the slits, and then later on it made some interference pattern, even after the light had passed, somehow placing the observer after it has passed the slits, it used to change the behavior of the light that had already crossed the slits, and as if it went back in time and changed its course. And so scientists were really puzzled. So that mystery still continues to this day. And so they are not able to really, for certain, understand whether light is really wave or a particle. So they have realized that at some point light can act like a wave, but at other times, it can also exhibit the principles of a particle. And as we dive uh, deeper, we try to make sense of the world. I'm talking about the scientists, and they try to explain how the reality is being created with the laws that they discover. So they have already, Newton's law is there of these masses. There's a gravitational law. There's subatomic forces that act on each other. They, create different kind of laws. So using all these laws, they try to form a thesis of how the universe came about. But the more we dig into it, the more confused we become. It doesn't give us a firm sense of reality and how the whole thing was set up. Masters tell us that we need to, and in fact, science, as I talked about, the observer uh, being a participant somehow and influencing the outcome. So masters tell us that observe is also very important. Einstein, before he died, he had a regret that he didn't pay enough attention to the role of observer, and many scientists at the time also found experimentally in completely different setup of their own that there was a remarkable uh, 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 role that observer was playing. And the masters of the East have told us again and again that the one who is observing is the one that is creating this whole experience. So going back to the subject of us also experiencing in this human body, and being able to critique on whatever is happening in our life, and trying to make a decision that I don't like this life. I want to seek the solution to this. I want to find out what happened to me, who created me, is there a God or not? What is all this religion teaching us? Can we find uh, something that religion can tell us that will show us the truth why we are in this miserable situation? And Master told us that it is the world that is being perceived through our sense perception, and thereby coming into reality. And if we are able to somehow stop the senses that we have, or invert the attention that is flowing out through our senses, we'll be able to find the existence of, you can call it, a different universe other than that we experience on a day-to-day basis. And of course, many of uh, uh, us who have experienced near-death experiences, we can see ourselves being separate from the physical body that we have. And it is our common experience that when we have dream, we can't distinguish that dream world that we create, the dream activity that we participate in. We cannot distinguish that from a, a life in the waking state. We don't question the reality around us. We don't question whether things that are in our perception, they are reality or not. We take them as real because we can see them, we can touch them, we can taste them. we can make sound and hear the sound that the object makes, and that gives us a sense of reality. So we don't find anything else other than that in our normal common experience that solidifies enough, because the dreams that we see, that vanishes the moment we wake up, and even the memory of the dream that we had does not matter, what kind of dream we had, but the sense of that fades away over time. We don't have a strong sense of continuity of that dream. So masters tell us that if we want to find the reality within us, because we are born as a human being and we have been gifted with different powers that we can make use of. We are conscious being. That's why we are able to perceive everything. That same consciousness, the power of consciousness, is making us alive. It's making the senses, the physical apparatus that we have, alive. The moment we die, we won't be able to perceive anything. A person who is dead, uh, his organs may be functioning properly. Everything, his eyes may be good, his lungs may be okay, his hearing may be as organ, as a sense organ. It may be perfectly okay. But if the life force, or what we call life or soul, leaves the body, we have no idea, uh, where it went. But we know the person cannot move. The person who has died, even the sense organs, the physical organs remain intact. Something uh, is has disappeared from the body. It's not able to function anymore. So there is that thing that exists in us. We do not know what to call it. Maybe consciousness, maybe life, but there is something that is functioning, that is making our body alive. And if we are able to simulate the death, then we can find out whether we live or not beyond this body. And we get a glimpse of this when we are dreaming. Our physical body is lying on the bed, but we are able to perceive of things that we create in our dream body, in our dream world, because we can see imagery. Even though our eyes are closed, we are lying in the bed, we are able to move around even though we are still in the bed. But in this dream world that we have created, we are able to move around. So how do we find out if this is the only creation or not? How what is the whole story of this life? Because we also hear about reincarnation. This body has been given to us because of all the past karma that we have created. And they say that the body gets built in mother's womb, even while the other life that is yet to get into this baby that is being formed in mother's womb, that life is still active. It may be a person somewhere, doing his daily chores. He's alive, yet the body in which his soul is going to go in is being prepared. And in fifth month, the person dies, and that same soul enters mother's womb, and the baby becomes, at that point, the baby is a different life that is growing inside mother's womb. So we hear that, but how can we be sure of it? So masters tell us that if we are able to somehow simulate death, then we will know whether we live or not. And so if we can somehow simulate, what does it mean? So it means that we are, uh, in our normal life, as I'm talking, my hands are moving, my legs are moving a little bit. I'm talking, my lips are moving. So I'm able to do that because I know consciously I'm speaking in front of you. I through I'm not instructing my mind to do particular things, but with the life force that I have, I know I can do everything that I have. I don't have to uh, instruct my physical body to behave in particular way, and instinctively I can decide to close my eyes, uh, and see what's happening. And if you observe the process uh, that senses take in terms of acquiring the knowledge about this world, we'll know that eyes are in front of us and they combine the picture that is in front of me. And somehow the perception of this whole world doesn't happen outside, it actually happens inside. It's just that signals are being carried through my eyes, ears. I can touch something and be convinced that, because I'm able to see, hear, and touch, this thing is real. And but somehow, if you are able to stop these senses, like we do it in bed when we are sleeping, or like people happen to go through when they have gone through near death experience, where the physical they had physical trauma, because of which a part of them left the body, and they were able to see that body lying somewhere, maybe in an operating theater, or maybe in a scene of accident, or whatever it is, right? So if we are able to simulate death by uh, by closing the senses, this was the process that uh, Raman Maharshi uh, adopted, because he also wanted to know whether what happens after death. So he simulated death. He decided not to move his physical body at all, and then realized that he cannot sense where his limbs are, where his hands were. He could not sense his physical body, but he was still there, because he could have thought. And then by repeating that process, he was able to get enlightenment. So we can follow the same approach, and the same approach, that is termed as meditation, has been advised by masters who tell us that we have to invert the direction of attention that we are that we are giving to. So the direction of attention is flowing from, seems like somewhere from within this physical body, and it's going out and giving us the knowledge of this world, but to somehow invert. uh, and so they say that uh, we pay attention to things outside and gain the knowledge of it. So if you want to find out what this picture looks like, you turn your attention to the picture, you look at different parts of the picture, and then you can appreciate that. You can look at this picture, you can see there's a vase, there's a flower, there are leaves, great master's photograph is there. By But while doing this activity, I forget the awareness that I'm sitting in a room, I have a laptop in front of me, I have table and chair. So somehow, by focusing attention, I'm able to gain better knowledge of things in front of me, or wherever I'm paying attention. At the same time, removing awareness from other things that are in my perception, that are in my awareness. So Ishuji used to talk about applying these, you can say, power built into all of us, ability for us to be aware. So in this room, I'm aware of many things. You can similarly, if you're sitting with people, you are sitting in a room, you are looking at the television or laptop, or various things. But if you want to gain knowledge of certain something more that you are interested in, let's say if you want to read a book, you open the pages of the book, you start reading the sentence, and you understand what the book is talking about. Maybe it's a fascinating novel you are reading, or a spiritual book. So you gain knowledge of whatever you are putting your attention into. Similarly, they say that if you want to get knowledge of this whole creation, you should not go outside. It's only going to give the knowledge of external physical world. It's not giving you knowledge of yourself. So if we are able to put the attention on ourselves, then we'll know, or we will gain knowledge about ourselves. But in terms of ourselves, we have only identified, uh, we are identified with this physical body. We don't know anybody else that resides in this body. We know our name. When our name is called, we pay attention to whoever is calling our name. So, but there is something else that also happens. Uh, in the dream, we are able to travel outside, or in the dream world, that doesn't use this physical sense perceptions. So we are able to make thoughts, and if we close our eyes and ears, the sense perceptions, and try to simulate death, we will know that we are sitting in this head. Eyes are communicating uh, the information from the external world, and somehow it is being perceived inside. We don't see, even though we have two eyes. These eyes just facilitate in giving an idea about the three-dimensional world. They don't see the same picture. A different picture from different eyes get combined into one place, and that's where we perceive. We get an idea of the physical world, the three-dimension behavior of this world. So if we are a conscious being operating from that place, and somehow our attention is flowing through our body, and we get an idea of the body and the outside world, somehow if we are able to, if we are this single unit of consciousness operating from that place, from where we are able to gain the knowledge of this whole world, can we put attention there? And masters tell us that yes, exactly, that's the process we need to follow. And if you are able to somehow put attention, similar to the way we pay attention to the outside world, if you are able to pay attention to the self that is observing everything, then we will be able to learn more about ourselves. Because by paying attention, we gain more knowledge of something. So if you are able to pay attention to that single point from where things are happening, where we are perceiving this whole world, even external world that is being communicated through sense perceptions, then, but if you are able to, rather than paying attention to the things that are being perceived through sense perception, rather than doing that, if you are able to put attention on the self that is observing this whole creation through physical senses, then we'll be able to find out more about ourselves. And they say, know thyself. That is the meaning of knowing that self that is experiencing the whole creation by sitting at the center of this head, and getting the perception from various physical apparatus that is built into our body. But how do we do that? Masters tell us that we can use another faculty that have been given to us, and that's the power of imagination. In dream, we use some kind of other faculty. Maybe it's power of imagination. Sometimes unconsciously we do that. You might have experienced that if you are interested in something, that comes into your dream. I remember watching Narcos, this popular Netflix serial about drug gangs in Southern America. And so I used to be very interested in that because of the way they picturize the whole thing, and wanting to understand how the drug trafficking happened in this country. So and it used to be a very thrilling subject. And I would realize that even in the dream, somehow those characters come in, and I would start seeing that as if continuity of those serials happened in my dream. So somehow, if you're too attached to something, subconsciously, you want to continue to experience those things. So it seems it is possible to have to make use of these abilities that is latent in us, and we can employ in imagination. All of us can do that. We can imagine a flower, we can imagine Ishwaji walking somewhere. All of us do that. And in fact, imagination is used all the time in creating even the trivial objects of this life, all the innovations that happen because somebody imagines something being of certain things. Even when you're painting, drawing art, pictures, you make use of your imagination. You imagine how things should be, and then you act on it. And but when we imagine, we somehow also dismiss it because it's just imaginary. It's of low value. We don't believe that that's the seed that we plant in ourselves in order to lead us down to the goal that we want to accomplish. So masters tell us that we can use the faculty of imagination. We can imagine that we are sitting in this head with eyes in the front and ears on the sides. We can imagine that we are sitting in this huge room that is shaped in the form of our head, and we can see that we can imagine that we are sitting in the middle of this room. In fact, if you were to just imagine while sitting still that you are flying or you are doing some activity, you can do that. You can imagine a flower, you can imagine things. You can imagine things that you're not physically doing, yet practice that. And masters say that the more we imagine, it becomes more real. And at some point, when our attention while imagining is so much that our attention from the physical body has gone away, we are not aware of where we are sitting. Maybe you're sitting or lying down, but you are imagining. You forget where your body is. And if more than 50% of our attention is in the imagination, that will become more real. And they say that if we repeat that in form of meditation, where we are sitting in a room, and we are in the middle of this huge room, and we are just trying to put attention uh, on where we are. We don't have to really imagine, because we are already there. You just have to imagine that you are in the middle of a large head. That's where you are operating from. And you can participate in different activities. Master Ishwarji used to ask us to imagine that your master is sitting in front of you. You are having conversation with him, and you put nice drapes in the room. You put nice carpet. You imagine different things. Maybe you have a coffee table. You have snacks and various things. So using these parts of imagination, you somehow uh, you know uh, the attention, the flow of attention, goes away from the physical world, the physical body, and you automatically withdraw attention from various other physical things, your room, and uh, start paying those attention that you removed, and start putting more attention into whatever you are imagining. So imagination helps in withdrawing the attention from the physical body. And with the power of concentration, uh, you are trying to imagine that you are in a room, and you are paying attention to the different drapes or carpet or things that you're imagining. At some point, that becomes so real, and you start observing things that were not even uh, were part of your imagination, because we start with the imagination of things that we have seen in the past, in this physical life. You can imagine a rose flower. You can imagine yourself drinking, let's say, coffee or tea. But sometimes, according to masters, if you find, let's say, a completely different flower that doesn't exist in your reality, in physical reality, and you start remembering things, then you start believing that the experiences that you're having is quite different from the physical experiences, and that remind you of things that uh, at some point you remembered, but you had forgotten. And somehow you start believing that there can be a world, a parallel world, a different world, other than what scientists believe in. And that gives us a glimpse of what are the different possibilities other than the physical world that we experience in. There can be a different creation there that is available. And so we realize at some point that that is another window that opens up in our life, and we can escape this physical world through that window and experience this greater world. And that may seem like initially imaginary, but as we get evidence of more and more things that are not seen in this world, or start remembering things that you realize that you had forgotten, and it becomes more real in nature, then the grip of this world starts loosening. You realize that the things that you're experiencing, it's very temporary in nature. And as you uh, as master used to say, that we have put on many masks on ourselves, and because of which we are unable to find out who we truly are. And when the words like know thyself, or this is the body of a living god, and this is a temple of a living god, we do not understand the meaning of that. So as we uh, unravel these masks, or uh, go through different veils, and go on the other side of the veil, and realize that there is another creation that's happening, another level of existence that happens, uh, we can ask further questions and see if we can, uh, in that body that is giving the experience of the inner world or astral world, can we go deeper and follow the same approach of dying in that body, placing ourselves in the middle of that astral head, and see what exists beyond that. But this can only happen if we are sitting in this physical body, if we are born as a human being and are tired, or have curious questions, and really want to find a solution for ourselves. Then we don't have to uh, do experiment in physical things, like double slit experiment I talked about, or building a telescope, because scientists have uh, been doing these experiments for a long time. And even though having spent their whole life trying to even find out how a simple law operates, there are so many other questions to be answered. And even growing up as an engineer, I used to somehow used to hold this belief that through science, you can the science that exists today, you can find how this whole creation happened. And a lot of us believe that, scientists believe that firmly, and it's very hard to convince them. But people who are sincere in their effort would not want to discard anything. And if a person like Ishwarji comes in their life, they would at least want to give it a fair chance, like we give a fair chance to science to prove whatever laws, whether they're true or not. So, as a sincere seeker, I think it is up to us to see, at least give it a fair try. And so, if we are able to use this body as a vehicle for experimentation, and sit in meditation and go through process of imagination, which all of us can do. All of us imagine many things in our life. Whenever we want to, let's say, if you want to have a vacation, you want to go to Hawaii, you want to arrange your trip, you want to go to different locations, you participate in imagination, and then later on act on booking the flights, booking hotels, visiting different places. So we can do the same thing, but we can do it within the temple that we have, the dome that we have sitting on our head. We can just imagine and participate in the process and see what happens. And thereby, with the step by step, we'll be able to see that this is maybe a better ground to find what exists other than the physical world that we experience. And so, but if we are not in this physical body, if we are any other life form, uh, the number of life forms I talked about, 8.4 million, according to Eastern texts, then it's going to be it won't be possible, because according to the spiritual text and the masters, only this human being has the ability to make decisions, make deliberative choices, and then we can decide that, okay, I have tried everything that science has to offer. Now I'm going to try what spiritual science has to offer, and use this temple, or the body that has been given to us, and the faculties, different faculties of imagination, power of concentration, and awareness, and so on, that has been gifted to us, and we experience it. So we don't have to assume anything, but we just have to give it a fair try and start from there, and our spiritual journey will start. With this, I'm going to conclude the discourse for today, but I wanted to give you a little bit of information on where the construction of meeting hall is. So we have been talking to the architect, and different parties involved. So all the preliminary work that had to be done before a steel structure could be put up has been finished. All the not to real satisfaction for our Dera building committee team. Many of us have been trying to chase different parties and talk to them. So work has been completed, and there is right now a little bit of work that the steel company has to do. It's called shop drawing. So right before they install the steel structure in place. They have to come up with a drawing and share it with the structural engineer and the architect to make sure that everything looks good. And once it is approved, which it is in the process of being reviewed or actually being amended a little bit, because the work that was done, that was again, call it Ishuji's Moj, or living in this physical world, and somehow even though we have all the documentation, uh, things don't turn out right, and it is a function of being also in Wisconsin, in Bruce, in remote place, where the kind of skill that is needed is not readily available, and we are working with a lot of constraints. There's a little bit of shop drawing modification that is in process right now, and that will be approved uh, uh, by architect slash structural engineers. And once that is done, then we'll go to the next step of putting the steel structure in place, and then enclosing it subsequently. Uh, According to the weather in Bruce right now, we are talking about trailing end of November. It's not very conducive right now to do the next step. So most likely in early spring, we'll revisit this, and we'll plan it out on when the structure can be put in place. A lot of us are looking forward to being there, and I'm also happy that it won't be, we don't have to do it in this cold temperature, because a lot of people want to witness the steel structure going up and take a lot of photographs to share with all of you who cannot be physically come to Bruce. Although a lot of people have expressed desire to come to Bruce, they're welcome and witness it themselves. I would invite all of you who want to see the place that Ishwarji wanted to put the foundation of the Dera, which he wanted to name after his master, Huzur Maharaj Baba Sawan Singh Ji. So that will be named after him once the building is complete. So a lot of us want to see the progress happen, and although we have been making a lot of progress, you can say under the floor, under the soil, like putting foundation and putting different piers on which the steel structure is going to be put on, that has been happening. But unless you see something in the air, somehow it doesn't give you confidence. So we hope to be able to do that soon. It's a matter of time, probably 6 months. In the next 6 months, we hope you'll be able to see real progress and visit the place and see the data come up slowly. And next month we'll be celebrating Bhandara for our beloved master Ishupuriji, who left us in 2020. So we'll be celebrating his Bhandara in Chicago. I hope many of you will be able to join us and give a tribute to our wonderful master, who dedicated all of his life to serving seekers in the path of spirituality. I'll be there. I'll be happy to meet many of you. And if I can't meet you in person, I'll be happy to participate in the celebration of his life. He is the most important person in our life, and the single most important person who will be beyond this life. So he means a lot to us. He means everything to most of us, all of us, and I hope you'll join me in celebrating his life. I'll see you next time. Thank you so much.